All right. Good morning. Happy first Saturday accountability call. I am super stoked to be here with you guys this morning. Um, and I was just saying that I'm excited to see where this thing goes. I don't know about you guys, but I know on Saturdays, especially the Saturdays that I work, I'm so used to the 9 a.m. call that on Saturdays, I feel like I don't know how to start my day. And I just know that the accountability call does so much for me, just in terms of getting my head in the right space. And I'm sure you guys have had this experience of like hearing the message that you need to hear in that moment, and maybe even a message that you didn't know you needed to hear. So, my vision for this space is going to be very similar, right? A quick 15-minute opportunity to just get your day started, to get into a good headspace, to hear from other people, to hear powerful messages. And this morning, I figured we just dive in. I'll introduce myself just so you guys know who I am and who you're talking to and hearing from. And then I have something fun I want to share with you guys. So first and foremost, thank you guys all for being here. I am Marcy Cruz. I am direct to Cree Petty, Christina Watts, Jim Larson. I feel like I always get these out of order. But they all like came and left out of order too, so it's totally fine. But Kelly Bush, Jim Larson, um, the Reinekes, and then Susie Neighbor, Jacob Pogue, Marshall Wayland, Hierarchy, whatever, all those people. The best upline. I will say that. I will get that. I'll get that dialed in and perfected before I'm on here again. I don't think I've ever had to say that before. But that's what's happening. Very excited to be in this upline on this team, though, especially with Cree, Petty, Kevin Geiger, just absolutely amazing leaders. Um, and my team sibling Alfonso is here with me. So excited for you to be here. And just a really quick backstory for me, you guys. I started with Symmetry in January. I actually had messaged Cree in December, which, if you guys have heard Cree's story, if you have heard Christina's story, December of 2024 was a really tough month for a lot of people. And that was the month that I decided that I wanted to get started. And I was licensed in 10 days. I had my ticket to conference before not the conference, but Ignite, before I even knew what it was really even all about. And I joined at a very, very challenging time in my life, probably one of the darkest seasons of my life. And it didn't get better when I got here. It actually continued to unfold and get worse. Over the course of January, February, March. February, I was in the ICU for 5 days. I was in severe septic shock. And that was a fun recovery. I actually had to get like medical clearance to get to Ignite, because I had a blood clot from one of the IVs that they gave me while I was in the ICU. And they didn't want me flying. And so I had to go through a series of things to be able to fly to Texas. So that was great. I had some personal things going on, some legal things going on. And, beyond the 6 month mark now, things are finally, I can say that things finally are starting to get better, but I doubled down. I didn't let any of that like get in the way. And I really do feel like this community and the culture here is one of the most important components of what helped me to get myself together to pull myself out of that really dark place. So I'm just so grateful for this. And so to have an opportunity to be an extension and to create an extension of that with this space, I'm excited about that. Before this, I was in network marketing. I worked for Apple for 14 years. I retired from Apple in 2019. Um, and before that, I went to art school. So I went from art school to tech world, into being a health coach and doing network marketing, which landed me here. So that's the most abbreviated version of my story, but I want to get into what I wanted to share with you guys today and talk about that, and then get you guys into your Saturday. I would also love to hear, I'm going to get the chat box open here. As I'm kind of going through, I would love to create kind of in this space on Saturdays, that we get in the habit of thinking about, Saturdays are the day one of the week, right? So thinking about, what do we want to accomplish? What are our goals for day? What are our goals for the week? Um, and what are our intentions? And we can talk a little bit about the difference between goals and intentions, whatever, but for now, like whatever those words mean to you. But if you guys, as I'm speaking, if you guys want to drop into the chat either your goal for the month, for all of August, your goal for the week, your goal for just today. This is an accountability space. We're not going to have the like numbers coaching component of this, but I figured we can kind of create some of that in the chat as the content is being delivered. So if you guys want to share that, obviously, if you're driving, don't do that. But telepathically, you can share your goals with me if you're driving or unsafe. I could probably also speak for more on that too. But okay, here's what I want to talk to you guys about. I was going through some of my old reels. This might be weird, but sometimes I like look back at my old version where I was online on social media a lot for inspiration. And I posted something that I had totally forgotten about. And it was so perfect because it's just really telling. And I'd be curious to see if you guys resonate with this. But everybody knows about caterpillars and butterflies and transformation, right? The most cliche kind of analogy, if you will, for transformation, for personal growth. What is not talked about, and if you guys know this, drop a one in the chat. Do you guys know that there's actually a phase in between that in between caterpillar and butterfly? There is a phase. And I had heard of it as being called Glop, which I actually looked it up. That's not the official, that's the unscientific term called Glop. But I looked it up. It's actually called imaginal discs. And what happens is when the caterpillar gets into the chrysalis, it is actually reduced down to basically like a goo, like a soup, like a nothing. Like it completely deconstructs itself before it becomes the butterfly. And the same way, like I don't know if you guys are into plants or if you guys have if you've done any like propagating of plants, the node in a plant contains all the DNA of what the plant gets to become. And so it's the same thing when the caterpillar kind of breaks itself down, the enzymes break itself down to its bare bone, right? Its truth, its basis. But in those very minimal cells, it contains all of the genetic coding that it needs to become a butterfly. And so it goes into the chrysalis, it becomes this goo, and then that goo is what transforms into the actual butterfly. And so I think that, I mean, it's not, there's nothing like super profound here, but like the analogy, I think it's just so incredible as a reminder. One of my favorite quotes or concepts is that you can't have your old life and your new life at the same time, right? You can't be the old version or the current version of you and the new version of you at the same time. And I oftentimes, in the multiple bouts of transformation that I've created for myself, I have found myself in this space where I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know how I got to where I am. I mean, let me know if you guys like if this resonates. But like having that moment where you're like on your way, somebody you're like, oh wait, I'm not that person anymore, but I'm not that person yet. So like, who am I? What am I? What is my purpose? That's that glop, that goo, that imaginal discs, like choose your choose your term. And I think that it's so profound. And I think anytime we can find something in nature that mimics or replicates kind of the human experience, because I feel like in so many ways the human experience is so unique and so different. But when we can find those things in nature of like, oh wait, it's supposed to be that this is how we were designed. This is what we were meant to do. This is how the process is supposed to go. Because sometimes that process can feel like, God, why does it have to be so hard? Why does transformation have to be so hard? Like, all I want to do is become a new version of myself. All I want to do is adopt all of these new habits. All I want to do is stop doing these things and start doing these things. And I just think it's we got to create space and talk about that glop, that glop phase, that like in between phase, that becoming. And something that Maura and I have talked about, and we've heard about this on the accountability call too, is not just the becoming, but the unbecoming, right? The caterpillar has to unbecome. The caterpillar has to become the glop before it can become the butterfly. And so thinking about who do you need to become, or who do you need to unbecome before you can become that next version? And knowing that that process is normal. And I think we need to create some more space. Like, like maybe this is like gloppy Saturdays, right? Of like, let this be a really, and I think that's the beautiful thing about the culture here at Symmetry is there is a lot of space held for the in between and for the transformation, because the transformation is so necessary and it's so normal. It's like the one thing that when we hear from every single leader in this space, they have that story. They have that transformation. They have that it wasn't always easy. They have that I quit and came back. And if I hadn't done that, look at where I would be, right? Like we hear it so often. And so I do really appreciate that about this space. And at the same token, like outside of this, I feel like there just needs to be more conversation around that. Um, and Kimberly, absolutely. Like, I think a lot of people are in that space, right? You come in here and like, cool, I'm not that person anymore. And I still feel like I just became a mom. My daughter's almost 3, but I still feel like I just became a mother. And whether it's becoming a business owner or stepping into a new version of yourself or picking up a new habit, doing 75 hard, becoming a mom, there's so many people who are like in that space. And so I really just want to hold that and remind people that it's actually very normal. If you're feeling like you don't know who you are, if you're feeling like you've reduced down to mush, um, and the benefit there is to remember that the same way that the glop, the caterpillar, the plant, they all have that coding in their cells of who they were meant to become, of who they are becoming. That coding is inside of you. And it's up to us to reduce down to the mush and to unbecome so that that coding, we can see it, we can read it, we can implement it, right? I think I come from tech background. I think of it like software, right? If you don't know the code, you're not going to get the result, right? Like you need to know the coding. You have to understand that before you can start to implement the changes to become the butterfly, the new version of yourself, the highest version of you. Um, Absolutely. You have to demolish the house to build your new one, which is so apropos. Maura right now is in the process of moving into a home that she literally had to move out of her own home as it was gutted to move back into the exact same home. I actually kind of want to do this myself because my house could use a complete overhaul. Um, Not that I envy what what she's going through, but literally she had to move out of her house for it to all be completely torn apart and rebuilt to move back in. And I actually have a couple of her friends who are going through this with like mold and just like there's a lot in there. And so I think it's kind of beautiful. And I actually love that you're moving back into your old house and not just moving into a new house. Right, like that's the chrysalis. The house became the glop, you guys all got all gooey and now you get to go back in and rebuild. So I do want to be really respectful of your guys' time here. That was the message. We do have a minute if anybody wants to unmute and share anything. I would love to open that space while we have a nice, small, intimate group here. I know a lot of people are in the underwriting training this morning. There's an underwriting training in the Susie Neighbor workroom that goes until 10. So feel free if you guys do want to hop over there. And then other than that, I think it's hat day in the other workroom in the Mac room. I think they're doing that on Saturdays. But does anybody want to share anything or say anything? I'd be happy to open up the mic for a second.
Well, first, I just want to thank you for hosting this. I think, yeah, when I work Monday through Friday, and sometimes I have a Saturday off, and I'm like, oh, this is the one day where I can actually be on an accountability call and like fully present, like because Monday to Friday I just try to sneak in and I hear but I'm not present. And in this one I want to thank you because I was able to be present. And what I like about accountability is what you said at the beginning is you hear what you need to hear and it resonates for the day, you know and
Yeah.
it's really nice that you um, created this space on the first day of the symmetry week.
Yeah, I think that's another big one too, is by the time we get to Monday accountability, it's already day 3 of the week. And there are so many people who do work on Saturdays, and even if you don't work on Saturdays, but you just want to pop into here, right? Just to take that moment to think about what your business is going to be, what your week is going to look like. Um, I was hungry for it and I wasn't going to wait for anybody to do it. So I'm glad that it's helpful for you too, because I know you have a very busy schedule. So I'm excited to have you in here when you can be here. All right, anything else? And we'll wrap up and get to our Saturday.
Just thank you. That's all.
You're welcome. Thank you guys all for being here. I will forever have this little group, this little pod in my head for where this got started. We will be here every week. I may not always be the one to present. If you guys want to be on here, feel free. If you guys have a message to share, if you have something you want to be, let me know because we're definitely going to open this up. And yeah, let's get to it. Let's get to Saturday. If you guys do have any goals that you want to share, I'm going to be in the Mac workroom, getting ready. I have a couple appointments later that I have some underwriting to do and some prep for. So I'm just really excited for this. And I'm just so grateful for you guys being here. Thank you so much and have an awesome Saturday. I'll see you guys in the workroom. Bye.